Friends, it's Terri Gaines. In this video tutorial, I'm going to share all the details for this fun Birdhouse pop-up card. I created this with the Country Birdhouse bundle, which is in Stampin' Up's new annual catalog. The stamp set and the dies are bundled together for 10% savings, or you can purchase them separately. The stamp set has 13 images. You have some sentiments, some images to decorate your birdhouse, along with a background stamp. You have all of these images that can be cut out with the dies. There's 23 dies altogether, along with the images or the dies to cut these images. You have dies to decorate the birdhouse and to add some floral embellishments. It is a fun bundle to create with. The designer series paper I'm using for this project is the Country Woods 12 by 12 paper. This paper, you receive 2 each of the 6 double-sided prints. It has all these different wood grains, different colors, and it's very versatile for all your paper crafting projects. The goal for the video is to show you how I created this, along with giving you all the tips and the details so you can recreate it. So I'm going to start out with the measurements for the card. This card I used Pool Party. For my card I'm going to do in the video, I'm going to use Crumb Cake. So the cardstock is 11 by 4 1/4. It's scored at 5 1/2 or folded at 5 1/2, and it's going to open up in this fashion. The Birdhouse Designer Series paper is 9 inches by 3 1/2, and it is scored at 4 inches. So it's scored at 4, and what I'm going to do is use the Simply Scoring tool, push the Designer Series paper up into the corner here, and I'm going to score this. This is going to be the front side of my birdhouse. I'm going to score this at 4. I'm using the larger end of the stylus and just softly scoring that. I'm going to score it at 4 1/2 and at 5. So those 3 measurements. When I work with Designer Series paper, I go real soft so I don't tear the paper. The smaller end, pushing too hard, can actually tear the paper. I also flip it over and I score the other side, and that just helps burnish both sides of the paper. So that is how we're going to score it. I'm going to talk about cutting it in a moment because I want to talk about the roof. The roof piece, there's 2 of them. They're 1 3/4 by 2 1/4. I'm going to use this dark wood grain for the roof. So what I want to do is score both of them at the same time. So I've cut my Designer Series paper to be 1 3/4, and I left it at 12 inches. Now I'm going to score this at the 3/8 inch mark. I'm going to score it at the 7/8 mark and at the 1 3/8 inch mark. And I'm also going to turn this over and do the opposite side, just like I did on the other paper. And I'm just softly scoring this. I don't want to break the fibers to tear the paper. Now this is going to be the top side of the roof, or the visual, the top side. We're going to see this. This will be underneath. Now what I'm going to do is fold this. So this is folded where you have your mountain fold, and then we're going to have a valley fold, and then a mountain fold. So this is how we're going to have this folded. And I'm doing this for visual purposes because it's really hard to see these score lines. So you can see this is how the roof is going to be folded. What I want to do before I cut it to the 2 1/4 inch sections, I want to put adhesive just on this small tab here. And let me grab my adhesive. I just had it here. Let me make sure I still have it. Oh, here it is, right in front of me. So this, I'm going to use the tear tape. What I like about the tear tape, it's narrower, and our tab is only 3/8 of an inch, so this is going to fit in there, and there's a backing on one side of the adhesive, and you take it off when you're ready to assemble your project. So what I'm going to do is just put it on this tab, this end panel, and actually I should say both end panels, find the end. What I also like about this tape is you can tear it. So I folded that now just so you could visually see where I'm placing this adhesive, and you can tear it at the end. So it's just on this end, and I'm going to do the same thing here. And the reason I'm doing this is because this is the adhesive I want to use for assembling this, but also if you put it on now and then cut it, you have adhesive on all of your pieces. So now I can take this to a cutter and cut it at 2 1/4 and another 2 1/4, and I have enough left for more birdhouse roofs. So you need 2 of those. So I have those already. And now, like I mentioned, it's folded Mountain Valley Mountain, and we have our adhesive on here. So that's creating these. So that's got that part ready. Then I have a cardstock birdhouse, and I'm going to set that aside, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So let's go back to the birdhouse. So this one we have scored at 4 and 4 1/2 and 5. So this is also going to be a mountain fold, a valley fold, and a mountain fold. So this is the top of the birdhouse. I'm just going to use my fingers to crease this. This is the top. So we have a, so we have a W. Let's just say that. That's what you want. This is the top of your birdhouse, and this is the bottom. Now we're going to use this die to cut it out. This is the same die that I used to cut out the cardstock birdhouse, is to cut this one out. Now the only thing different is we don't want to cut the bottom. This bottom is going to cut your cardstock or your paper. We want to put this right up, right to it, but not on it or over it, because we want to run this through our die cutting machine and retain the folds on the bottom. So what I did ahead of time was I actually ran that through my die cutting machine, kept this above that cut line, so I retained that fold on the bottom. So that's important to do. So I've got that work done ahead of time. Now the reason we have this cardstock birdhouse is I want to have this hole in here, and I want to have a backing for the inside here. So I cut that ahead of time, and how I got that hole is, this is the die for the hole. I'm going to bring this back in. This die will cut out that opening, and it also creates a little die here that can be used to put right here. We haven't stamped anything ahead of time. We don't have that alignment. So I just placed this where I wanted the opening and cut that out to get my opening here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to adhere these two together, but there's a couple things we got to keep in mind. We want to make sure that we don't change the placement of this fold. And my cardstock birdhouse is a tad bit longer than this spacing right here. So I'm just going to bring in a paper snips, and I'm going to cut this off. You can cut it off with a paper trimmer, but I'm going to just cut it off with my paper snips. I want to shorten that a little bit. I don't want it to be longer than this front panel. What I'm also going to do is adhere this together, and I'm going to use my regular adhesive, and I'm going to use the Stampin' Seal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put adhesive across the top of my cardstock birdhouse. Now that's not showing up with that silicone craft mat on the video. And I'm just going to, I don't need a lot of it. I'm actually going to leave this side open. I'm not putting any adhesive here. I put a little bit on the top and a little bit down here. And that should be sufficient to adhere this. I like to hold this with my fingers and get the alignment. You could also place it on the table to get your alignment. You're going to align this. Oh goodness, I'm saying that works best for me, and it's not working the best right now. So I am going to try it again. I like using my fingers to help get my paper aligned. And what we want to do is just have this adhered together. So there we go. So I have that for the backup of the birdhouse. Now the reason I left that open, I want to tuck a bird in there. So what I did is I stamped the bird, I cut it out with the die, I colored it in with the blends. I used the pumpkin pie, light and dark, for the brown. I used the petal pink for the belly, and the pumpkin pie for the beak and for the feet. I'm going to tuck this in. I already know that I want to cut the wings off and cut the feet off. I'm going to take my bone folder and just crease that a little bit to get some dimension. going to stick a dimensional behind it. Now this is optional. You don't have to put the bird. I'm going to put a little dimensional there. And then I'm just going to tuck this in and have it sticking out like so. So that's the reason I did not put that adhesive, and I just have the bird sticking out like so. All right, so that's just part of the decorating. I wanted to get that part done first. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to decorate the birdhouse. We have decorative images for the birdhouse. I have used a lot of these dies. I have the dark brown trim that matches this roof paper. So I have one for the front and the back of the birdhouse. I use this die with a lighter wood grain, and then I use this die for the bottom. So I have 2 of each of these. We're going to decorate the birdhouse first. Now I do want to let you know that with these smaller pieces, I like using the adhesive sheets. So with the adhesive sheets, you get 12 in a package. They come 6 by 12. There's 12 in a package. And how these work are, there's this adhesive as backing on both sides. I take my designer series paper, cut it to what size I want to work with. I cut my adhesive sheet the same size. And then what I do is there's these backing pieces, and I'm going to bring in my Simply Scoring tool again to show you how I actually do this. So I'm going to put this on the back side of this paper, and I'm going to turn this upside down and put that in the corner of my Simply Scoring tool. I'm using that for alignment. The adhesive sheet has these 2-inch strips that you can peel off, and it's the backing part. I peel one off at a time. This backing's still here. Now I'm going to turn it upside down. Adhesive's right here. The backing's right here. Push this in the corner. I push this into this wall and then to that wall till it hits the corner. Then I use the Simply Scoring tool to help me get that alignment. I get one adhesive section. Now I'm peeling both off at the same time, which is okay. And I'm peeling those backings off, and now I have that. So what I have now is a backing here, my front of my designer series paper, and adhesive is between both of these. So what's great about that is when you take these dies and you cut this out, you have adhesive on the back of them. And that's what I have for all of these pieces. So we're going to decorate the birdhouse. And so what I'm going to do first is put this roof piece on. So you have a backing. I'm going to grab my Take Your Pick tool to help me get the backing off. And sometimes this goes smoothly, and sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle. Now what I'm going to do is bring in my silicone craft mat, and this time I'm going to use the visual to line it up and line this up to put across the top of the birdhouse. I'm also going to put this piece. So this is the lighter wood grain, more of a decorative image. Now I'm going to tuck this in the corner here, and let's see how smoothly this goes. There we go. And whoops, let's get that. So this is the front of the birdhouse. I also want to decorate the back side of the birdhouse and add some more character to the birdhouse. So I'm going to repeat this. I'm going to take this trim piece and put this on first. So I don't have the best angle, so we'll just say that that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to put this light wood grain. So we're going to do that. And there we go. So I didn't get this stuff prepped ahead of time. With my videos, I like to do some of the prep work so I can just show you the details, but some of this takes a little bit more time. So we have the front and the back. Now I also cut this die to decorate the bottom part of it. That just adds so much to the birdhouse. I also have adhesive sheet behind this. Now, remember when I talked about the birdhouse, the cardstock birdhouse let me get this down first. I talked about the cardstock maybe being too long. Well, this one did work out. Sometimes it sticks out here. You just need to trim that. And we just want to make sure we have no exposed adhesive. That can cause your card to stick when you close it and not open up right. So we want to do the same thing for the back. And so I'm going to peel this backing off. And like I mentioned, this adhesive sheet works great because now you have adhesive already on here. Now I'm going to line this up. And let's test this. So I actually worked out pretty good. I don't have exposed adhesive. I will tell you the previous ones I made, I just want to let you know, if it sticks out the bottom, just take your paper trim or paper snips and trim off that. Do not cut the fold, just trim off that excess. But it actually worked out pretty good this time. So now we have the birdhouse decorated like this. I'm going to put the roof on next. Now the roof is going to have some modifications to it. So we're going to start out by putting just one side at a time. So this roof is going to go like this. I already know that when we go down to the edge of the roof here, to this edge, we're going to probably see part of this piece right here, part of this. So we want to take this roof on that end, we're going to fold it in half like this. Our fold is here. We're going to take a paper snips and we're going to make a strong cut right there, just on that section there. I can cut both at the same time, and it's going to be like a 45 degree. Just cut that off. That means when we put this in, we're going to hide that. You're not going to see that part, okay? We also have an issue at the top here where how are we going to get that all to work like that? My way to handle that is bring in the die that created this piece right here. I'm going to place it right like so, and I'm right-handed, so I'm going to actually turn it upside down and use this. I'm placing this in a corner as the guide. I'm going to take this paper snips and I'm going to point it right to this section. Let's see if I can explain that. I've used this as a guide. Now I'm using this point, this corner right here as a guide to where to cut. So I'm going to start my paper snips there. Then I'm going to open up my blade and continue the cut all the way to the top. That's going to get me the right angle. So we're going to, this should be good for either side. We're going to repeat that for this other side. So I'm going to open it up like this. This is my bottom. So I'm going to take from my fold, I'm going to cut that off. So that's going to allow those pieces to hide underneath here. This is my top. I'm going to take this. I'm using this just as a guide to line that up. I don't have that straight. Line that up. This is just my guide to where to start my cut. And then once I know where to start it, I'm going to go all the way to the point. Now I've got those angled cuts. Now my roof will meet up here. So now we're going to put these pieces on. So I'm only going to take the backing off one piece at a time. So I'm going to take your pick tool, and this is the fold on the top. I'm going to use this, and let's see, I got a different angle because of the camera. I'm going to use this and line that up just like that. So I have it just attached right like so. I'm going to take the adhesive off the back part of this. Let's see if we can get that to come off easily. I'm gonna fold this, hold that right here, line up the roof. Let's see how well I can do this. There we go. So now we have it attached there. So now our roof is looking like this. We're going to take the backing off of both of these, try to keep them accordion folded down, bring the birdhouse. Now it's important that you fold that and you're bringing just this birdhouse over, and we're going to attach it. And now we have our roof on our birdhouse. So that's how we got that part done. Before I actually attach this No, I think we'll be okay. I'm going to attach it later. So now what I'm talking about is decorating the birdhouse, putting these flowers on. Well, maybe we'll do that now. So what I did was I cut out a bunch of the flowers and the leaves from the designer series paper. And what I have here, you have 4 different flowers. I used these 2 in this leaf. You have these 2 styles of flowers and some more leaves. And what I did was I put some of them together with the mini glue dot. So what you can do is bring a mini glue dot to pick up a mini glue dot with a flower. And then what I did was I took one of the leaves and, whoops, attached that. Oh, I got my take your pick tools in the way. That's why it's not working so well. And attach that. Sometimes that little stem sticks out, so you have to trim it, but now it's hidden. So now what I can do is take another mini glue dot, and then I can take that and attach that. So I'm going to decorate this just like I did the other one. I have a flower down here, and to save some time, I already put a couple of these smaller flowers together. So I'm going to put a smaller flower right here and another smaller flower right here. We'll just put that guy right here. All right, and then on the center of these flowers, I'm using these pretty embellishments. These are the iridescent foil gems. They come in 2 different sizes. I just love the look of these, just a subtle design for the inside. So now we have this birdhouse decorated. Now we need to attach it to the inside of our card. To do that, what we're going to have to do is separate the we're going to need to put adhesive on here. You can actually use your adhesive like this. I'm actually going to put some tear and tape. So what I'm going to do is put a strip of tear and tape right here and some tear and tape right here. Now the other thing we need to do is we need to trim this up. When we open it up, we don't want this piece to stick out, so we're going to take a paper snips and we're going to cut this straight. Just cut that little tab off. You're going to cut this little tab off, and then what you're going to have to do is separate the birdhouse. We kept it all together in one birdhouse until we got everything assembled. Now you're going to take your paper snips and cut right on that center fold, and that's going to separate the birdhouse. So now, and I did that, and goodness, sometimes my videos go smoothly, sometimes I have oopses, but you know what? If I was showing you this in person, the same things would be happening. So now what I'm going to do is show you how we attach this. So we have the birdhouse already. This is going to be the front of the card. When I open it up, I want the birdhouse to open up like this. So I'm going to set the birdhouse like this. I'm going to lay it face down on my cardstock. I'm going to look for equal spacing on both sides. And then I'm going to bring the birdhouse up to the score line, not on the score line or over it, just right up to the score line. I'm going to take the backing off just this side and close the card. Now that's going to adhere it to the back side. So when I open it up, it flips down like this. Now what you're going to do is take that backing off and then close the card. And now you have a birdhouse that pops up on your card, and it's decorated on the front and the back. So the rest of these embellishments are for decorating the inside and the outside of the card. So let me show you what I have planned for that. And it's going to be very much the same as what I did for this other card here. I use the countryside corners. You get several of the dies. They all help layer these beautiful layers. I used the sentiments in the stamp set. I have this sentiment for the inside of the card. I already added a flower here, similar to what I just shared with you for the decorating the birdhouse. And I'm going to place this down right like so. The one thing I did not do yet is I did not add one of these embellishments. So I'm going to add the larger of the two for the center of that flower. Now that's for the inside. I do have a note here that the inside sentiment layer is 4x4 max. I envision that that's the space right here. You can create this to be any shape or any size. For the outside of the card, I have a note that you want to put your embellishments. I'm using the designer series paper. I cut this and I'm going to tear this edge just for that decorative edge. I'm going to use my adhesive. Now I don't have the measurements for this because this decorating the outside of the card is kind of, you can use a designer series paper any length for this. And then I also took the countryside corner dies, and stamped the image, added flowers. I put some dimensionals on the back already to save some video time. So as I mentioned, my goal was to give you all the details so you can recreate this card. And these birdhouses are going to be fun to create. All the different color designer series papers in the wood grain are going to be so fun to try out the different colors and designs and create some fun birdhouse pop-up cards. Now, if you watched my video last week, I shared a pop-up card with the flower pot. I used the birdhouse to help create this angle. I do have a video tutorial in a PDF. I will link that in the text portion of my video, along with the blog post that I share this. If you want these measurements in a PDF form, I do have that on my blog. I'll also link that in the video portion of this, or the text portion of this video. I hope you enjoy my projects and like my free PDFs. I would love to have you subscribe to my YouTube video, to share my videos and share my blog post. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. And like I mentioned, I hope you enjoyed this project. Take care and happy creating.